Why is Arya Stark always on the run? Because she's constantly being hounded. Hello and welcome to day 5 of the Genesis of Androzani Advent Calendar. We are here with Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 2, The House of Black and White. Last time we had The Wars to Come, which was a mixed bag, and it was more bad than it was good, to be fair. It was very patchy like a cow, is the analogy I used. The Sparrows are in King's Landing. Mance Rayder is dead. He's been burned. His Dar has suggested to Daenerys to reopen the fighting pits in Meereen, and so has Daario. He's also suggested it as well. The Unsullied pay at brothels to be held and nurtured, and the Sons of the Harpy are killing them. And there was a slave that reported that because he's on the streets seeing the Sons of the Harpy. Then you also have Robb and Aaron trying to learn how to fight with a sword and it's not working. You have Shrek and Littlefinger and Sansa going away from the Eirich. And they just so happen to pass Brienne of Tarth and Podrick right when they were talking about them. You have Tyrion and Varys, the old married couple, vomiting wine and talking about going to see a woman. That was so crap. Dany visits her dragons and then immediately unvisits them when they're still mad at her. Sam and Gilly exist. Stannis is motivated to retake Winterfell from Roose Bolton, and he wants to use a wildling army to do so, and take them south of the Wall, which is a pretty bold move. Oh yeah, Cersei remembered her childhood, and there was a thing that didn't make sense in it about the child she had with Robert. Jaime feels guilty for his father's death and letting Tyrion go. Yet we also haven't seen anything from Arya or Theon yet. Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 2. The House of Black and White. You won't get Charles Dance's corpse this time. Oh, we haven't been here in a while? Fuck Dave and Dan. Ugh. Anger. Now, funnily enough, this came out the same year as Ashilda. This is quite big for her, actually, because this is the home of Syria Farrell, who was her water dancing master. Your sword is your arm, boy. She's actually admiring the scenery, unlike Stannis, who didn't give a shit. Stannis just wanted gold, metal, and men. That's a very big building. The list is quite short, because lots of the people have died. Podrick is too cute for this world. Oh, hello there.
What the fuck? What are the fucking chances of them being this, not only in the same fucking area like they were in the last episode, but as I said, like I said in that reaction, they didn't interact. That's good, because that would have been more of an issue. I would have had big fucking problems with that. If they're just passing, fine, as long as they don't interact.
Yep.
They end up in the same fucking restaurant in this episode. What the fuck chances of that? The fucking chances of there being in the same fucking restaurant or whatever, pub, whatever you want to fucking call it, I don't care. The fact that they're in the same place when they were on their way somewhere and fucking the other two were setting up to fucking sleep.
You know when
it doesn't make any fucking sense.
You sound like me in the season 4 finale review when I was talking about when the Hound and Arya.
It doesn't make sense. How are they in the same place?
So,
how timeline-wise, when they're making their way to it and they're setting up to sleep, how did they end up in the same fucking place to eat?
That's twice that Brienne's had that in her lap. Well, now they have more than one horse. That's basically Grand Theft Auto, isn't it?
Our eldest child murdered at his own wedding. Our only daughter shipped off to Dawn. Our baby boy set to marry that smirking whore from Highgarden.
Okay.
Roses and music. I adore music, but no flutes. I hate flutes. We can have a harp if you like.
Don't get me wrong, I love this guy, but he did not need to be in the story from here. Bron should have just had a nice retirement with his wife.
You always get what's coming to them, eventually. One way or another.
we already know what he wants to do to his sister.
Who's that?
This is my betrothed, Lawless.
She's starstruck. She has cut her hair short. Those are some very fine hedges.
I laughed as they screamed, and as efforts to stamp out dissent led to a rebellion that killed every Targaryen, except 2.
I'm not my father.
No, you.
Mistakes will be made.
Thank you, Your Grace.
You call that a mistake?
Pardon me, Your Grace. I would take it if you don't mind. It could prove useful for my work.
Fucking, he's so messed up. He's a very not comfortable actor, is what I would say. Anyway, the small council, are they going to talk about Dragonstone, the fact that there's no one there?
But I don't imagine you'll have the time. In addition to being master of ships, the king has appointed you master of coin.
Oh, Your Grace.
He called your experience.
The honour is all mine, Your Grace. Your Grace.
This is pure gaslighting.
Just fine. I'm sure you and Ostrich Stark have a lot to talk about.
So she's basically saying he's a massive nerd.
You'd be Lord of Winterfell. I swore a vow to the Night's Watch. If I don't take my own words seriously, what sort of Lord of Winterfell would I be?
Take note of that line he just said. Think of that later.
Together in the larder during the battle for the wall.
Lies!
A wildling girl, a baby, and Lord Janeth. I found him there after the battle was over, in a puddle of his own making.
Medieval election. I like how they do it with like squares, triangles, and circles. Yeah, poor centrist parties, am I right? Oh my god! Fucking Jesus. She does not like birds. I love me a pigeon pie. Oh god, that's creepy.
You.
Oh, go away, pedophile. Okay, they just want the pigeon, thank god.
Quickly, go, go!
Oh my god! It's a hooded man. Run away. Hello. Oh my god, he was doing blackface! Oh no! 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 Why would you do that? Oh my god, he did blackface. Oh my god. That's actually quite crazy. That's quite crazy.
Completely unintentional, but yes.
That's quite... Oh, but this was made like, what, 8 years ago or something? Yeah. That's quite wild. That's quite wild.
Well, I mean, it's technically a black actor, so it's not really black. It's kayfabe
no, it is.
Blackface.
In universe, that's what I'm saying. In universe, it's technically blackface.
The House of Black and White.
Oh god.
And that should be written in Low Valyrian, but I digress.
Oh, but how are we gonna read it?
Subtitles, Callum.
Yeah, exactly. You can just put subtitles on. Lisa! Lisa! Oh my god, that guy there just fucking the least amount of effort putting his hands in the air. Oh my god, that's funny.
These Moroccans are tired of doing 120 takes.
Oh, fucking hell, he was quick with that. That was pretty quick.
This is Arthur Ashe if Claudio beats Eddie.
Oh no! Oh god.
Alright, Callum, your initial thoughts on the House of Black and White?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. There was, again, it felt like the only stuff that I kind of liked in its entirety was Stuff of the Wall, again. Everything else I felt was only... There was some stuff that I thought was worse. There was some stuff that I thought was confusing in terms of what characters talked about. And there were only a couple things I thought were slight improvements on the last episode, and that was pretty much it. Again, it's not... I don't think I was a fan of it. I think that's my thoughts right now.
It was a lot. I know that. It was a
lot.
lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot here.
And there's a lot to get into. Alright, okay. I'll lead the charge here. Let's talk about Bravos.
Yeah, let's talk about Bravos.
So Arya Stark is in Bravos, and Tanicio takes her there. He's the guy who appeared in the last episode of season 4 as well. So he took her there. And she goes to the House of Black and White. She knocks on the door. A man answers through the opposite door that she knocked on, and refuses her because she asked for Jaqen H'ghar. So, beef. Big problem I have with this. What? Okay, so obviously you've seen season 2, so you've sort of you have a concept of what the meaning behind the Faceless Man is. It's about being anonymous. It's about having no identity. And it's about the idea that they are so invisible to the world that the only way you know they exist is if they tell you they exist. Is kind of the idea of it. Now, this episode gets about half of that right, because he is right in saying there is no Jaqen H'ghar, right? Because there wasn't, because Jaqen H'ghar was a soldier that was killed, and the Faceless Man wore his face at Harrenhal. And at the end of season 2, when he gave her the Bravosi coin, he removed his face and had another one under it. So the whole idea is that, you know, Jaqen H'ghar is just a face I wore, but it's not who I am. I am no one. So it got that part of it right. The part it got wrong, though, is... why is he wearing the same face again? How does she know it's the same person? It's not. It can't. Like, it is the same person, but it's a bit dumb that he's got the same face. And the only reason why they did this, there's actually 2 reasons. Number 1, they wanted to bring the same actor back because he has good chemistry with Maisie Williams, and he also fits the sort of the mysterious role well from his season 2 performance. But the other reason is because in the books, when she goes to Bravos, she meets someone called the Kindly Man at the House of Black and White, who is basically nothing but a skull. So the idea is that he is a blank, faceless man that's not wearing anything. And he's just nothing but a skull. But of course, they don't have the budget for that, to have like a talking skull. So instead, they had what you described as in-universe blackface to sort of represent the symbolism of the House of Black and White. They had a black guy in a white hood next to those white and black doors. And he removes his face, and it turns out that he's wearing Jaqen H'ghar's face, and it's implied it's the same faceless man that she met in season 2. I don't like this because I don't think the meaning behind the Faceless Men is represented well by this at all, because the whole point of the Faceless Men is that they are anonymous, and the idea that he's wearing the same face again just so that she can know it's the same guy kind of goes...
Yeah.
It's like polar opposite to his whole message from the last episode of season 2. When he removed the face and she no longer recognized him, that is what the meaning of the Faceless Men was. But he's basically doing the exact opposite here, where he's bringing it back so that she feels comfort. But that's like...
Yeah.
That's antithetical to the whole philosophy behind this cult. So yeah, that's my biggest beef with Bravos. Apart from that, it's also just like it's just really weird. Like, I love the scenery and all that, like the way that they show the scenery is great, but it's very, I don't know, this whole thing was so just weird. It's really weird how she just sort of sits there in the rain and lists off her names and flips her coin and then goes to the town to kill a bird like she does in season 1.
I don't get the point of it. I don't get the whole point of her waiting, like, what, 24 hours or however long it was.
And also, the fact that they run away when they see the guy, I guess that they recognize he's from the House of Black and White, which indicates, oh, he must be associated with the Faceless Men, which then says, right, so that means that all of the street people in Bravos fear the Faceless Men because they know they could die.
Aren't they meant to be, like, unknown?
Yeah. But yeah.
Why would they have a reaction to someone who's meant to be unknown?
I suppose in this sense, he's not unknown because he's dressed representing them.
But then that's not what the Faceless ones are.
Yeah.
If he's a part of it, it's really strange.
Yeah, there's a lot of contradictions here.
If very much Bravos to me felt like it was just spinning its wheels for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
But this is meant to be the introduction to this side of the story. It wasn't obviously in the first episode, it was in this episode. This feels so much like spinning wheels.
Well, the entire thing they did with Arya and Bravos this episode is just a replacement because they couldn't CGI the kindly man, so they decided to do this instead. And there's just a lot of contradictions, and I just don't think it works.
Yeah. I wasn't really a fan of Bravos, really, everything that took place.
Yeah.
Like, the whole waiting, like, they're never going to explain why he made her wait. I don't get, it's only there just to be a bit, I guess, mysterious.
Well, I mean, the implication is that he would have let her inside if she acknowledged that he was no one and not Jack and Hagar. That's just a weird way of going about it.
Right. Okay. It felt like spinning wheels, and that's all I really have to say about it. You had guys who wanted to get the pigeon, even, to I guess make some food with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then weren't afraid when she pulled out a really good-looking sword.
Well, I suppose that they thought that because she's a small girl, they could overpower her.
Yeah. Even though she has the reach advantage in that situation.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, wasn't a fan.
Yeah. Yep. It's again, like I said, it just contradicts the whole point of the Faceless Men, really. And that's not a good start. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no.
I don't have much more to say than that.
No, I don't have anything to say. It was spinning its wheels, let's be fucking real. And
also, I think Maisie Williams having to act by herself is a lot more challenging for her than it is acting off someone else.
Like her saying, what was she say at like the end of the first scene? She said something like to the guy, "I'm not afraid" or something. "Don't be afraid. He's around. I'm not afraid." And she's like, "Okay, we're gonna get." That's cringe.
I mean, that's also partly because the dialogue is so generic.
Yeah, it wasn't full on cringe. It was just a tad cringe.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying they can do better.
No.
I expect better from this show. The standard of what they're supposed to be doing.
So
I was just gonna say, I mean, I know that maybe for this kind of high budget HBO show it wouldn't be acceptable, but I would have been fine with like a skull mask. I think that would have been fine.
Yeah.
It may have looked a bit hokey, but it would have made more sense. Just have the kindly man be an actor wearing a skull mask. It doesn't have to be the same guy.
No, it doesn't have to be. There are other charismatic actors in the world. You can use those.
Also, the fact that we have to we only talk like she only meets one faceless man.
Yeah, but it's the guy we recognize and we like him. So.
Like surely have a bit
It's not like there are other actors in the world of acting that they could cast to be also just as charismatic in a different way. It's not like that can ever be the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing else to say. But what things I do have to say though is the scene that came after. My reaction to seeing fucking Littlefinger and Lady Sansa in the same fucking place as Podrick and fucking
Brienne.
Yeah, Brienne.
See, this is the thing, right? Is you compare this to season 1 when Tyrion walks into the same inn as Catelyn. The reason why that happens is because it's at the fucking crossroads. So they're actually traveling on the same road, which is why they meet together. You know, like when Catelyn imprisons Tyrion? That actually makes sense, because you know why they're on the same road, and you know why they go to the same inn.
Just the fucking chances of them ending up in the same fucking place at the exact same time is ludicrous.
Yep, and it's all because they just wanted to do this scene.
It's not like fucking Tyrion and Catelyn being in the same place at the same time. It's nothing like that. This is just, she's fucking looking for Sansa. And she just so happens to be in the same place. Again, the same fucking thing as happened at the end of last season. Jesus Christ. It fucking annoyed me, man.
What's quite tantalizing about it is that some of the dialogue exchange between Littlefinger and Brienne was actually quite well done for character-wise.
Yeah, it was actually, the actual scene was actually, like, the dialogue exchange was actually good. It was actually a good conflict.
He was basically manipulating Sansa into believing, well, why the hell would you want to trust her when she keeps failing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it's true, to be fair.
Clearly
she has let 2 people under her oath die.
Whereas Littlefinger has been successful, but his plans aren't.
But neither of them were her fault. Yeah, but neither of them were her fault as well.
Yeah. But you know, the master manipulator and has his like when you talk about Littlefinger and Brienne, they're like on opposite ends of the political manipulation spectrum. Because Brienne is very honest and open, and is not someone that can play chess. You know, she's very just dedicated, whereas Littlefinger is the opposite. He's the ultimate chess player. Or at least at this point in the show, he is. The one thing I really like about the storyline, though, is Podrick. He's quite funny. He's fun.
Podrick is great. But, speaking of fucking Podrick, he probably should have died. Because...
Yeah, they're making him seem useless to the point where it's not believable that he would have been saved.
It's like they got separated, and then just as the guy is about to go, attack Podrick, Brienne then arrives and it's in the same area, but he probably should be dead. There was a bit of luck involved. Plus, weren't there like 2? Was it one guy chasing Podrick, or was it 2? I need to look back.
I think they separated into 2 and 2, and then it got more divided.
No, yeah, they got separated, but I can't remember if 2 people went for Podrick or just the one. Also, the fucking CGI face on Podrick as well. That was so noticeable. It didn't look great.
Yep.
Very noticeable.
I think the real thing with this scene is that it's a good idea on paper. I think they had a good idea on paper for a scene.
You can do this conceptually. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, yeah, it was just the one guy. That's fine, but yeah. They get separated and then
Why don't you just establish that Brienne and Podrick, after they lost the Hound, which is still stupid, but establish that they go to the Crossroads Inn, which happens to be at the bottom of the road of the area, which geographically makes sense. They are just there, and then Littlefinger and Sansa turn up there, and it is the inn people go to. Like that would have made more sense than what happened, which is
The
they
best
passed them.
you could fucking say is because Podrick said the food is probably good, so that's the place to go.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did like after this was the exchange the two had, about, technically both Arya and Sansa have denied your request of helping them and protecting them. Mm-hmm. But then she was like, yeah, but do you trust Littlefinger? No, so we're going after them. I actually thought that exchange was good. That was a good exchange.
Yeah, there's good character stuff in this.
Yeah, it's just surrounded in the fact that this scene just shouldn't have happened.
It's so contrived. Unbelievably contrived.
Fucking contrived. And that's part of the... Obviously now the last episode is now damaged a bit more because of that. Because of the fucking chance of them being on the same place at the same time, just conveniently. But then that leading into the fact that they end up here is so fucking stupid.
It's the same thing as the season 4 finale. Like, the dialogue with the Hound is really good. The whole, come on, Brienne of fucking Tarth. Her mother's dead, her brother's dead, her father's dead, Winterfell is a pile of rubble. There's no safety, you dumb bitch. Like, that whole set piece of lines is really good for the characters, but the fact that they actually bump into each other is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that wasn't...
It's the clockwork, really. The clockwork of it just doesn't fit. And do you think someone like George Martin would allow this kind of shit in his books? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Anyway.
So, now Brienne has lost both Arya and Sansa within 3 episodes.
Yeah, for 3 fucking episodes. Fucking hell. Man, the luck and unlucky stuff is just on her side right now.
Yeah, the luck and the unluck. It's both.
Yeah. Both lucky and unlucky. Yeah. But yeah. That was that, which annoyed me.
It begs the question, does that mean that Brienne is now just going to stalk them?
Yeah, seemingly she's just going to go and follow them to where they're going and just try again, I guess. I guess we'll see.
Oh, I did think it was funny when Podrick tried to throw a rock and it missed. That was pretty funny.
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah.
Guess that means they're unarmed. Okay. And now I guess I want to talk about the other small scene before we get to the big places. Sure. Yeah, the scene with Tyrion, I had a big issue with this scene, as I said in the reaction, which unfortunately people didn't get to hear, but he talked about the reason he didn't leave King's Landing is because he liked the power of being the Hand.
I mean, that's one of the reasons.
It's one of the reasons, sure. However, in that scene, I remember quite clearly it being more to do with the fact that, it was very dangerous to do so. And the fact that he was trying to protect Sansa at the time as well. And the fact that he didn't want Shae to be caught and killed because of that.
Also,
if I'm remembering correctly, those are also reasons as to why.
Also, I just want to point something out. So, Varys was offering Shae, precious money to go overseas to save herself, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just want to speculate. Do you think the spider would know why Tyrion is staying? Like, do you think he would have an inkling of his motive? Like, do you think Varys is smart enough to understand why Tyrion hasn't left?
He should. He should know, because he's smart. He's not stupid.
Not only is he smart, but he knows Tyrion well.
He knows him very well.
They may not be like best friends, but they are political associates, at least. And they admire each other.
The only way you can interpret that is that he's trying to just get Tyrion to open up, asking the question.
Do you remember in season 2 when Varys says power only resides when people believe it resides? I don't know. It feels weird to hear them talking about it like it's so. There's no
like he's a character that knows everything about everyone. Like, he has whisperers. The whole point of his character is the fact that he has people always listening. So,
do you remember what Davos says to his son before the Blackwater? He's like, the spider knows what you had for breakfast 2 days ago, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, like, the only way you can interpret that is him trying to make him open up about it and try and make him realize that he needs to keep moving forward. I guess, but I don't think that's what the intention of the line
honestly,
was.
I just these two characters just
Like
don't
he,
feel
like,
they don't,
and
they
the
don't
fact that Tyrion doesn't. I get that he's wallowing in his own depression shit right now, but him just saying I didn't want to leave because I liked the power. That's such a fucking one-dimensional look on why he actually made that choice. He made that choice because it was to protect Shay and to protect Sansa. That's why. Those are I would argue those are the main fucking reasons, not
And
because
also-
you like the power.
and also there was Jamie. It was part of it as well at points.
Exactly. It's because he cares about the people he loves and cares about.
He knew that he needed to stay in King's Landing in power so that he could get.
How in 3 episodes have they absolutely fucking butchered this character?
Like, do you remember when he was negotiating with Catelyn to get Jamie back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, how they
And also,
in 3 fucking
let's also-
episodes.
Let's
they
also not
fucked
forget.
it.
Let's also not forget. He stayed there not only because his father asked him to, but also because he thought that after his work, his hard work, and his, him upholding the demands of his family, that he would get the rights to Castle Rock. Now, he didn't get that, but that was a specific motivation he had. He believed that he had the rights to it because Jaime's part of the King's Guard, and Cersei has to look after her children. So there's so many layers to why Tyrion wanted to stay in King's Landing. Now, power was one of them, but it wasn't the only thing. It was in
I would say it's like very low on the list of things he cared about at the time.
It's
like,
not just about power. It's about I like being among these people. He explained this to Shay as well. He says, "This is my place. This is my world.
Yeah.
If I go to Pentos, I can't live this lifestyle." And it's not just about power. It's about he loves the whole negotiations. He loves
because he cares about people.
Mm-hmm. I saved this city and all your worthless lives.
I hated that. I hated this scene.
Yeah, these once brilliant characters are now a one-dimensional old married couple bickering each other, saying, "Oh, you got to spend all this time inside this fucking box." It's and the dialogue is very expository, and it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the poetry and the fabric of these characters, Anyway, let's cycle back a bit. Let's talk about the small council. I actually thought this scene was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually thought the dynamics and the conflicts in this scene were actually well done.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things I said that I think was improved on from the last episode, because there was very little of this.
Yeah.
Like, the actual making, Cersei pretty much just taking control and just using the fact that she is the Queen's mother and using that to dictate and shape the things that she wants in place was really well done. And the fact that, that one of the characters actually saw through that and actually confronted her about it was actually like really good.
Of course he did. He's a master. Not only is he his in expertise and deception, given he's the master of war, he has won many battles, but he's also Tywin Lannister's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows his niece very well. He's watched her grow up since she was a child, and understands her bullshit, and knows that he serves the king, not the Queen Mother, and he can clearly see that she's trying to use her son's power so she can control things. And he's really the only one. Well, he's the only one that's saying it.
Yeah, of course he is.
Mace Tyrell
he
is
sees through it.
Mace Tyrell's too daft to see through that. Now, this... Oh, God. Okay, so as much as I do find the whole thing of Mace Tyrell being naive quite entertaining, they aren't utilizing the fact that there's more to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that is missing from a scene like this is why aren't they talking about the fact that there's an unmanned castle very close to them? Because if you remember, Stannis took all of his men away from Dragonstone, to our knowledge. This is the Targaryen castle. It's extremely useful. It's a castle that's on an island in water. It's very near King's Landing, so it's easy to access. They're the first army that could reach there if they wanted to. Why is no one talking about Dragonstone? And, well, I'll tell you why. It's because Dave and Dan wanted to make Loras Tyrell a gay caricature, and they wanted to make Mace Tyrell a comedic character rather than having them take Dragonstone, which is what they do in the books. So I just want to get that out the way. So anyway, regardless of that, Mace Tyrell wants to be Hand of the King and then gets offered something worse and still says thank you because he's a naive idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Pycelle, who's pissed off that Qyburn has been made Master of Whisperers because of his loyalty to Cersei. Cersei presents it as loyalty to the crown, but he's actually just loyal to her. And we see later that Qyburn is happy to take the dwarf's head off, because all these, all the men that Cersei's been sending around have been massacring dwarfs, which is absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal that they're massacring dwarves, because she's just desperate to find Tyrion. Desperate to find Tyrion and kill him by any means necessary. And I really like that quite psychopathic line when she says, "Oh, mistakes will be made."
Mm-hmm.
Which is to imply that, massacring all these dwarves who are innocent just because she wants Tyrion dead is quite something. And I don't know if you noticed that detail, but that dwarf whose head was massacred, that was one of the dwarfs from Joffrey's wedding.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now there is a character in the books who is related to that dwarf, but they don't appear in the show. I'll probably address it at some point later. But that storyline of Cersei beheading dwarfs leads on to something in much later in the show. Not in the show, the books, I should say, but here it's just her killing dwarves, and then Qyburn wants to use the head to study on it, which is pretty fucked up, to be honest.
Yep, very, very gross.
Also, I'm sure this is a very productive way of utilizing the Kingsguard.
Hmm.
Of course, like you said, Kevin Lannister sees right through it. So yeah, I thought the small council part of King's Landing was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, we have the other side. We have the other side of the story, which is the Dornish plot. Which is where they send a snake with Marcella's necklace as a threat, given that they feel that the Lannisters are responsible for Oberyn's death, given that it was the Mountain. And Laria Sand witnessed that firsthand. And Jaime volunteers to go and rescue her with help from Bronn. So, I think it's safe to say this doesn't happen in the books. This is a Dave and Dan idea, and the storyline that is in the books, they're basically saved for Jaime. They basically have saved for season 6, safe to say. So they've given him something to do in between now and then, and they've decided to have him rescue his daughter, who everyone thinks is his niece. I did like that sort of exchange where it's like, you're going to go down south by yourself, a one-handed man with no army. That was quite a good exchange, her sort of deducting all the things that could go wrong, and kind of what Jaime actually plans to do is unexpected. I do think there is a sense of continuity in the sense that Jaime knows what Bronn had done for Tyrion and knew what Bronn's value was, in the sense of he cared about having a big castle and a wife and gold. And he's decided to, against his will, marry him to another woman. Do you want to know what my biggest problem with this is?
What is your biggest problem?
If you were going to go down south to Dorne, let's say you're Jaime Lannister. Number one, would you want someone who can spread secrets for any we won't get into the reasons yet, I'll talk about that second, but let's say if you were to take someone south, would you want it to be someone who could speak? Given that you have things that you don't want to be revealed to the world, like Marcella being your daughter and exposing the royal family as bastardry, which giving Stannis Baratheon a further claim to the throne. Maybe Jaime Lannister should take someone like, say, Ilan Payne, who has his tongue cut out. Maybe that would be a good idea. Because that's exactly who Jaime Lannister pairs himself with in the books when he's going to where he ends up going, which we'll get to when we get to season 6. So not only does he speak to... He hires someone that, you know, it's potentially that he could spread secrets. You don't know whether he will or not. So good faith, let's say he doesn't. But what else does Jaime know about Bronn? He's a fucking sellsword.
Yeah. Yes, that's just what he is.
So what happens when they go south and they get let's say they get captured and they say, "Oh, Bronn, we will pay you money, whatever you want, whatever gold you want, whatever is double more than what this man is paying you. You tell us everything." What do you think Bronn's gonna do?
Oh, he will take it.
He'll fucking
To
take
live
it.
and to have money, yeah.
Yep. So Jaime Lannister is an idiot.
What,
And
you mean not hiring someone who is proven not to not be that trustworthy is a bad idea?
Someone who's a fucking sellsword. You're gonna take a sellsword with you.
Yeah, but it's a likable character. What do you mean?
Yeah, and...
So think of all the fun banter they're gonna have.
I mean, yeah, they do have fun banter, because those actors are really funny. Nikolai Coster-Waldau and Jerome Flynn are funny actors. They have good chemistry. Bronn and Lannister's brothers are a dynamic that works. It's just, why the fuck is Jaime taking a sellsword to Dorne? And this is what I said in the season 4 review. He has that scene in prison with Tyrion that's like the kind of like the perfect send-off for his character. And in the books, in terms of him being on screen, that is his send-off. Now, he does have an off-screen sort of beef with Cersei, but it's in a sense his arc of getting what he wanted from Tyrion is done. So now Jaime is upping the ante here and asking him to be his servant in what he wants by marrying him to a new person against his will and then saying, "I'll get you a better castle and a better wife." I just think it's... I feel like as fun as Jerome Flynn playing Bronn is and how funny he can be, in terms of the actual serious side of the story, this was not needed. And, yeah. This makes Jaime look really stupid. A one-handed man who's going to take... I mean, they did...
This plan couldn't possibly go wrong.
They did set up in the previous season that Bronn trained him how to fight with his other hand. So they do have a built-in connection of some sorts. But again, you can't trust a sellsword. The reason why, and I'm gonna really explain, because people might go, what about Tyrion? The thing with Tyrion is he was desperate. He needed someone to get him out by any means necessary. He didn't necessarily trust Bronn, he just knew that it was his only chance. That's why it worked. That's why his pairing with Bronn worked. Because he knew he needed someone. And then by the time he was Hand of the King, he didn't need to worry about Bronn because he was in a place of safety for the most part. So... And again, his lack of trustworthiness was proven because Bronn didn't fight for him in the trial by combat, and he had to get Oberyn Martell instead. Tyrion knew he wasn't trustworthy, but he knew he had gold, and he could, if he was desperate, he had to get out of a situation where he was going to be executed by Lysa Arryn at the Eirich, for one, among other things like the battle at the Green Fork against Tywin's men. Well, actually, no, with Tywin's men against Robb Stark's sacrificial lambs, as if you will. There's a built-in reason for why Tyrion does it, despite the fact that Bronn's not trustworthy. They develop a friendship out of it, but it doesn't make him trustworthy. It just means he understands his price. Because he's a fucking sellsword. This, on the other hand, Jaime is putting a lot of trust into Bronn not to spill the beans.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they're about to go into a part. They're about to go into a part of the world which is very far away and has a lot of very rich people in it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the smartest idea. This plan couldn't possibly go wrong.
Also, I just want to say, like, I know they did it for dramatic effect, but surely wouldn't Jaime tell Cersei what the plan was?
No, shh, mysterious.
I'm going to be mysterious about how I'm going to save our daughter's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really a mixed bag with anything involving King's Landing this time round.
Yeah, there were good performances. I'll give it that.
Oh yeah, always is.
And
It always is.
I do appreciate the visual symbolism of the snake and not just, I got a letter from Dawn and I am reading it out to you. Like, that would have been much worse. At least they did that. Yeah. And I do think the dynamic between Lollys, Stokeworth, and Jaime was quite funny. So we observed in the background Trystane, Martell, and Myrcella by the hedges. So we saw Cersei and Jaime's daughter there. She's grown up quite a bit since she left.
She has.
And obviously has been cast.
What season was that? Season 2?
Season 2, that was the one where the Slothine's arm got ripped out.
Yes, it did.
But yes, she, again, like Tommen, has been replaced by a new actress.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, it makes sense.
More importantly, Ilaria Sand, the widower, or the widow, I should say, of Oberyn Martell. I guess they're not married, but she was his paramour.
Yeah.
She manages to get past Erio Hotar, who is the King's Guard for... Well, not King's Guard, I guess it's Prince's Guard, really. For Prince Doran, who is the brother of Oberyn, played by a Star Trek Deep Space Nine actor. I can't remember his name, actually. I think it's like Alex Sadig or something. And then you said the actor for Erio Hotar is from Doom. That really bad movie.
Yeah, the guard outside. The guard outside, yeah.
Yeah, that really bad movie that The Rock's in.
Yeah, he has a really funny scene where he absolutely destroys one of the Doom monsters and then dies from falling. That's quite funny.
That's pretty funny. So, yeah, it's a very brief scene, but they establish that Ilaria Sand wants vengeance for what happened to her paramour. She says something along the lines of, I want to send Myrcella back to Cersei one finger at a time. And she criticizes Prince Doran for his quote-unquote laziness. He's sort of being very passive. It seems he's being, like... It comes across as he's being very passive and not doing anything. And it's very brief, but that's basically what they establish. And we get a look at those nicely trimmed hedges of the water gardens, I guess you could say. So she also mentions the sand snakes as well, which haven't appeared yet, but they are 3 characters that you'll get to see in future. The sand snakes, for a bit of information, are 3 of Oberyn Martell's bastard daughters. One of them is Ilaria Sand's daughter, and then there's 2 other ones. So yeah, you'll eventually get to them. But yeah, there's... Depending on how you interpret the truth behind the potential truth or the potential subtext behind this scene, going into it, not knowing what comes after, there is potential. Because it makes you wonder, why? Why is Prince Taran not doing anything about it? Clearly he did care about his brother, but he has a very different philosophy of the way to go about it than Ilaria Sand does. Notable exclusions from the story for book readers: Ariane Martell and Quentin Martell, the children of Prince Taran, are not in the show. And that was a massive disappointment to many, because Ariane is one of the best POV characters, and Quentin is the one I talked about last time. He's the one that wanted to go to Marine to see the dragons, and many other things. So they're not in the show, and there's no reason to be angry about it yet, but once it gets to like relevant plot points, that's when it'll become annoying. I think the reason why they cut them is because of they are connected directly to, remember last episode when Tyrion and Varys were in Pentos, and I mentioned how they cut the Mama's Dragon from the show, the character that Varys and Illyrio were talking about in the dungeon of King's Landing when Arya was inside the dragon skull. So in the books, Ariane Martell's storyline is directly linked to the Mama's Dragon in a lot of ways. It takes a lot of time for that to be revealed, but there is a merging of those two storylines that will happen. But I think because they cut the Mama's Dragon, they also cut Prince Taran's daughter, which is a shame because she's great. Quentin is a different side of the story, let's just say that, and I'll probably get more onto that when we get to stuff in Marine, because it's more relevant to the Marinese plot than it is to the Dornish. Yeah, there's not much to go off in this scene. It's just an introduction.
Well, it's an introduction of their clear conflict, and the words she used suggest that she is very much not happy with the situation, and the line of "not while I rule" and "how long without be" is very interesting lines. Those are very interesting lines.
Well, the implication of Duran is that he can't stand because he's confined to a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't remember if they specify this in the show, but the reason why he's in a wheelchair in the books is because he has gout, which is like a deadly disease that cripples you. Very nice scenery, I will say. It does look great. It is a location that exists that you can visit in real life. So they got a bit lucky. They found somewhere that looks nice for the scenery. I do have a bit of beef with Dawn's scenery when we get to later in the season, though. I will talk about specifically what I mean by that. Not necessarily the location they used, but just in-universe what they don't utilize. And I'll speak about that when it becomes relevant. But for this one scene, it being in the Water Gardens is fine by me. Yep. Alright, so shall we move to Marine?
I guess we shall, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, okay, let's start with my biggest beef. Because, I mean, I know you mentioned... I mean, it probably didn't save, but I know you mentioned in the reaction about how you didn't like the dialogue in the council meeting.
No, I just got the scene up. The exact fucking lines that really fucking annoyed me was, for one, they might have important information. And these are the son of the Harpies don't have information. And then the next line is, well, how do you know that? And the next line is, because I questioned him. Fucking basic bitch dialogue this fucking is. Couldn't just have him just say, I've already questioned and there's no information else we can gather from him. Just have that. You don't have to waste 5 fucking lines on the fact that you don't have any fucking information.
It's just
because you've already
arguments.
questioned him.
Forcing
Why wouldn't they fucking know that already?
Yep.
Why would they not fucking know that he fucking questioned the person? Like, fucking hell. Dialogue is like written by children.
Yes. Well, yes, it is. How did you feel about the scene when Dario and Grey Worm go into that building and he basically chastises him and then stabs a wall?
I thought that was really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That's your problem. You didn't realize that they'd be hiding in the fucking walls.
It makes Dario
Joke's on you.
It makes Dario look like a massive asshole.
Yeah, it does. It makes him look like an asshole. How else? What do you think he was hiding within the fucking concrete walls?
I mean, like, Dario is a cocky guy, but I don't think he's to this level.
That's so fucking unfair. How the fuck would anybody guess? Unless they could. The only way you'd, like, if they were making active noise, but it was silent. They weren't making any fucking noise.
Do you remember how good this, like, you remember how he was characterized in season 3 when it was the other actor?
Yeah.
And the thing about Dario Naharis is that he was cocky, but he would mock you for what you are, not for what you're not. Which is why his dynamic with Jorah Mormont works so well. But the problem is with this, is that he's mocking Grey Worm for something that he couldn't know. So it's ridiculous.
It's like fucking so cringe. It's so cringe.
And that
like, how else is he meant to know?
And
they're not in the room.
The only reason that scene exists is so they can say, well, they hide in the walls, that's how you don't know where they are, and then they find the mask.
Oh, wow. Fucking Duke Jew, they did.
Yeah.
How fucking silly of you.
I will
fucking
say,
hell.
now, funny thing is, right after the council meeting ended, we actually got quite a good scene with Barristan, where he's talking about the Mad King. I really liked that.
Yes, that was actually that was the good part.
Yeah,
that was the good part.
And I just want to ask you one question, just a bit of genius trivia. I'm sure you'll know the answer. Where do you think that scene comes from?
The book.
Yes. How did you know?
Because it was good dialogue.
Yes, and it makes sense, and it's about the characters, about their history. It makes sense because Barristan was actually the fucking Kingsguard for the Mad King. And the actor played it brilliantly.
Yeah, it was a really good performance.
It's like fucking Whiplash, dude.
I'm not my father. I'm not my father.
What is that? It's so Whiplash. You go from this really tacky, like...
You go from the dialogue of, oh, why don't there's no information to gather. How do you know that? Because I questioned them. To then that scene 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
Fucking God. God damn the dialogue.
Which is like an actually really cool scene where Barristan talks about her father in a way that she never understood. She never heard this perspective on her father before. It's actually really interesting. Because she's always been told he's the Mad King, and she goes, oh, these are usurpers, traitors, telling lies about my father. But Barristan, who she trusts, tells her like it is. He tells her the truth about her father, and that's actually like a defining character moment. Fuck. This is so frustrating, because there's so much good in here, but then there's also so much bad as well. It's like Whiplash. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Now, let's get back to the bad stuff. I want to make a small comparison. Not a small comparison, it's actually quite a major comparison. One of my favorite things about Daenerys in the book is she has a really tough time making a lot of decisions. And the reason why is because she has so many people to answer to. She has such a long list of things to sort out, because Meereen is a massive, massive city. It's arguably, I think it's the biggest city in the world. That's what they said. With the biggest population. And the most complex political structure, especially when you're given that they have to actually function with 2 other cities beside them in Slavers Bay, with also their archaic political structure that's existed with the slavery and all that. That's one of my favorite things about Daenerys in the books, is the fact that she has so much going on that the pressure becomes really difficult for her to handle, especially given that she's supposed to be like 13 years old. And she tries her best, but it's it's tough to manage her own moral principles when you've got so many things challenging them. But the problem with the Daenerys in the TV show is the reason why she's so conflicted is because it seems like she has bipolar, and she constantly changes her mind on everything. And this episode was the definition of this, because do you remember when she came into Meereen in season 4, what was the first thing she did? She crucified all of the slave masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and why did she crucify the slave masters? Because she wanted the slaves to be free to make their own decisions, right? Agency, freedom. It's a sort of they may not have a rich life, but at least they have a life they chose. So when this slave guy who makes his own choice to kill someone without a trial, what does she do to this slave guy? She has him beheaded in public to send a message to the slaves, don't disobey my orders. What does that make her? A slave master.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally a slave master
What
because
a weird decision.
She's dictating that, saying, "Do not go against my instructions, otherwise you'll be killed."
What did she think was going to happen? Like, they were obviously going to be fucking pissed at this.
This is such a contradiction. The whole point.
This is so weird.
The whole point of freeing slaves is that you give them the opportunity to make their own decisions. Why are you acting
also,
as if
he didn't get a fair trial? Did he not get a fair trial?
Yeah. Why doesn't he get a fair trial?
Firstly, like, you can like deem him guilty, but at the very least you give them a fair trial.
Firstly, a fair trial. Secondly, deal with this in private, in court, not in fucking public.
Exactly. No, you just get it quicker. You broke the law, therefore
you're
death.
incentivizing every slave and marine to follow your orders, which makes you a slave master. This is fucking stupid. It's so garbage.
It's just weird to like. My issue is the fact that she thinks that this is perfectly fine to do in public and just execute them in front of people who are very much going to clearly be angry with this. Because what he did was kill someone who has killed other people. Like, ideally, morally, they agree that these are bad people. So,
and her justification is the rules are the rules.
It's like, yes, I understand that, but like, you gotta remember that this is fucking. You're still very new to this, and this is still raw, and like, it's gonna take time.
Does she not have any sense of pragmatism?
Just throw him in jail. Throw him in jail. That's what you need to do.
How about you
throw him in jail and give him? You could, she really could have done is throw him in jail for a lifetime, and that's it, and be done with it. That's your punishment. You get to live your rest of your days in jail.
Or how about this? You put him in jail. We're not just talking from a political point of view, but let's think of it like from like a personal point of view. Throw him in jail. Sleep on it. Think about it. You know, take time.
Could even do that.
Take some time.
No, don't. No, we got to kill him now because he killed someone. The law is the law.
Notice this is the episode where Barristan says to her, "You're nothing like the Mad King," and then she does something in this episode that's very Mad King-esque. It's just so ridiculous. Yeah,
it's just very stupid character-wise. It was very stupid to do that.
Yeah. So not only fucking bipolar, man. This is tough because not only is it one of the best episodes for giving Daenerys context about her father's history and connecting that part of her life to her history, but it's also one of the worst episodes at contradicting her own morals. So it's like inconsistent by definition. This is just ridiculous. And this is what happens when you don't pay attention to what you're adapting and you just put things in the show. You just go, I'm going to chop up these bits of the book and then I'm going to add my own stuff and not think about whether or not it contradicts each other. Because then you end up with shit like this. Oh my god. It's painful to watch. It's so annoying.
It's very painful. It's very painful.
Yep. crap. I know you probably hated other stuff more, like the little
The
finger,
shitty dialogue.
the little finger Brienne contrivance is probably your least favorite thing in terms of your reaction.
In terms of reaction, in terms of how I physically felt at the time,
Yeah.
sure.
And obviously I mentioned the thing about the faceless man, but that's more like world building and thematic stuff. This is about one of the like 3 main characters of the show, and they are brutalizing her. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. This is shit. God, her character's so. I understand now why a lot of people, just in general, just don't like Daenerys because her character's not that very strange.
Well, she has consistent like setbacks to her character throughout seasons 2 to 4, but she's never like outright assassinated. It's just there's things about her story that could have been handled better, but this is the first episode where it's like truly unbelievable how Dave and Dan have handled her. It's like it's just crazy how contradicting she is. And yeah, anyone who's seen season 8 knows that this is not the end of that. This is not the end of her.
It's as if it's almost the beginning.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. Oh dear. Once again, Hizdar Zolarak in the TV show is a wet blanket. He does nothing of value despite the fact that he's a literal monarch. Man, I wish we got Book Hizdar. Book Hizdar was a fucking Chad. Loved him. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the best storyline in this episode, and that was at the wall.
Yes, this was the part of the episode where I was like, yes, this is good shit. This is actually consistently good.
Yeah, so I think we'll talk about the library scene first, because it's the least important part, and then we'll get to the bit after. So, Shireen is now teaching Gilly how to read. Because she once taught Davos.
Quite nice.
This is something that I think is a lovely attention to detail, because this is the first episode where we go to Dawn. I love that Gilly is reading about a snake. That is a very little thing that they added in there that I thought was quite clever. They do that a lot, usually. They read things that are relevant to what you're seeing. Actual attention to detail, wow. Who would have thought? It almost seems like Dave and Dan are putting all of their eggs in this one basket for their like actual effort. Because this is the storyline that they really like, is the stuff at the wall. But yeah, we get a few different dynamics in this scene. One of the most crucial ones is that Samwell gets it into his head talking about previous Lord Commanders, because obviously there's going to be an election. But also notice that Selyse, who is the mother of Shireen, mentions to her you shouldn't be talking to her, she's a wildling. So there's very clearly tension among the ranks at the wall. There's some people that are very against wildlings and some people who are for them. Stannis finds them to be useful if they bend the knee to him, whereas his wife says that they're not to be trusted. I also do think I really liked the story about how Gilly had 2 siblings who died to grayscale, and they didn't outright say what it was, and they did a scene where Shireen never really found out because she's too young to understand, but they implied that they were hung with ropes, which is fucked up, that Craster hung his own children with ropes because they had grayscale and he didn't want to get infected. That was really dark. But yeah, I thought it was a neat little interaction between 2 characters there about not only learning about grayscale, but also it kind of had multiple purposes, really. I'd say this scene, it accomplished a bunch of different things for a bunch of different characters, and I think that's kind of what you want, really. It was very efficient with its time.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty neat. I think quite a nice little exchange between the 2 women characters, well, little girl and women character. I think that interaction about how they've gone through similar things. Obviously, Gilly's two sisters had the same infection, so I thought that was quite a neat little thing to relate to the two. I thought it was quite nice, and I thought Sam was quite funny with like his comment about, it was what was the name that he talked about? Something Stark.
Yep.
Yeah, like so they were collected at 10.
I liked the.
Giddy just like,
I like the thing of like it sounds like you and him have lots to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a good line.
Yeah.
And then that scene in general I thought was pretty decent.
Yeah. Then we get to the scene between Jon Snow, Stannis, and Davos. Stannis Baratheon offers him if Jon bends the knee, he's going to make him a Stark and Lord of Winterfell, which is what he always wanted since he was a child. But knew he would never get it because of Robb. But Robb is no longer alive. Bran is nowhere to be seen. Rickon is nowhere to be seen. Sansa and Arya, who the hell knows where they are. Jon is the only one that Stannis is aware of still exists. Well, in this TV show, that is. In the books, Davos Seaworth is sent to White Harbor because Rickon was sighted there. Of course, the difference is that in the TV show, Osher and Rickon stayed on for longer, and they ended up going to the Last Hearth instead, with the Umbers instead of the Manderleys. But at the same time, there could have still been a sighting. But let's just assume that Stannis doesn't know where Rickon Stark is. So he says, I could make you not a bastard, I could legalize you as a Stark. And this is established, because if you remember in the last season, Roose Bolton legitimized his bastard son Ramsay.
Yes, he did.
So now he is Ramsay Bolton, not Snow, and Stannis is offering him that the same thing. Because in Stannis' view, he is legally the rightful king because Tommen is a bastard. So I thought that was really interesting, and then the sort of the twist he gives to Sam about I'm going to refuse him because of my allegiance, my sworn vows to the Night's Watch.
Yeah, he swore to the Night's Watch.
Yeah. I also really liked the line where Jon was saying, forgive me, your grace, but no matter what you do, they'll never bend the knee for you. You know, you just burned their leader alive. Yeah, so that was very interesting, that offer from Stannis, because he very clearly wants Winterfell. Because not only from Winterfell can he feel like he has a chance at defending the realm from the White Walkers, but it also gives him a massive advantage at the potential of taking back the throne as well, in time, when it becomes appropriate to. And he believes that legitimizing Jon Snow as a Stark would get him there. Yeah. Of course, that doesn't happen, because what actually happens is that despite the fact that we think it's just going to be Dennis Mallister, who is the oldest and most experienced in the Shadow Tower, and Alyssa Thorne, who has been a man-at-arms for Jeon Mormont and very clearly has leadership skills, we get a speech from Samwell Tarly, which I thought was exceptional, where Samwell Tarly basically advertises to the room why Jon Snow should be Lord Commander. It was very good. I thought this whole thing of the Lord Commander election scene is the best thing about the episode. It was very, very good.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. It's a much simplified version of what they actually do in the source material. In the source material, Sam has to trick people into voting for Jon. There's a bit more. There's more contenders, more going on with like Bowen Marsh and Cotter Pike and a bunch of other characters. It's a much more expanded, and it leads to the same result. But even with what we got, the essence of it, the speech that Sam gives about Jon makes sense. And then the speech about that Alyssa Thorne says about, all of that's true. What I love about it is that he doesn't deny the truth about Jon. He doesn't deny all the great things that Jon's done for the Wall. But he does say, despite the fact that Jon is great and could be fit for this role, perhaps even more than me, can you trust him given that he lay with the wildling and he's friends with Mance Rayder? It leads to a tie vote, and Maester Aemon gives the final vote, and Jon is now the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this scene was great. Really cool. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic
Very
stuff.
again, this sort of idea of Jon, like he kind of said, like, well, Stan is saying you lead by fear. When, meanwhile, in this scene that comes after, there's a very clear respect that a lot of people have for Jon, and it is a sort of love for him. That is pretty much why he's elected. It's a nice little, like, subversion of, like, what the establishment thinks it should do, rather than, you know, what Jon has been doing, and you're just leading and being someone who's just good. He is just a very good person. Yes, I really like this scene quite a lot. I thought it was really well done. And, once again, the wall's probably the best stuff at the moment, quite easily.
It's the stuff that they are executing the best when it comes to extracting. Like, they aren't doing the full story. I have said that before, but in terms of extracting, like, a piece of the story and putting it in a TV show, they are doing the wall the best out of all of them. It seems to translate the best. I loved the bit where Sam exposed Janos Slynt, the fact that he hid with Gilly during the battle, and that got a chuckle out of Maester Aemon. And while Janos Slynt was hiding with the women and the children, Jon was leading. So yeah, that has very interesting implications going forward. Not only because now Jon Snow is going to be leading Alyssa Thorne, which is a very interesting dynamic, to say the least, but also Jon Snow is very pro-wildling, which is is very counter to the tradition of the Night's Watch. And that is the conflict of his character going forward. Is that now he has power, how does he handle the conflict between the Night's Watch, the wildlings, in the wake of a White Walker attack? You know, it's the whole thing of people
very interesting.
People from two sides have to band together against the greater threat. You know, I love the line where he says they were just born on the wrong side of the wall. It's true, they were. And they say, oh, their lifestyle is so disgusting, right? That's what Celise says to her daughter. It's about the fact that they're not trustworthy, they're so rotten and foul. But you also have to remember the only reason they are is because of the conditions they've been put in. They had to become like animals because they had to survive. It's why they're so... I don't want to use the word savage because it's derogatory towards them. But in a sense, that is sort of what they're getting across. Is that people hate them for who they are and the fact that they're on the wrong side of the wall. And the southern lords and kings, even in the north, they just have a much more polished lifestyle and they don't have to be like that. But what Stannis sees is a very useful army of people because they have strength in numbers. But whether or not they'll actually bend the knee to him after he burned Mance Rayder is yet to be seen. I also think there is an argument to be said that this makes Stannis seem a little bit less forward-thinking, burning the actual Mance Rayder. It certainly makes him stick to his principles. You know, he's very much sticking to this is what I need to do to establish fear. But I think I do slightly prefer the version of events where he pretends to burn Mance Rayder and then he still uses them in an effort to infiltrate Winterfell from the inside, which is what he does in the books. But that's neither here nor there, and we will deal with the aftershock of that change when we get to the point when it becomes relevant, but for now it's still fine. It still, you know, makes sense for the characters. Very, very strange how inconsistent the quality of the writing is throughout the episode. It's unbelievable. It feels like this show is being written by like so many different people, scene to scene, but it isn't. It's been written by the same guys. And again, like I said, it's just This is the problem, is that they're not very good at writing original material without source. They have decided to cut so much out of the books and replace it with other things that are more short form, but they're not actually doing the hard work to make it feel like it's on the same level. They're not putting in the hours and the creativity and the sensibility to make every story feel like it's on par with what they're doing with The Wall. Because that's what they should be doing, but they're not. And I still think even if you can't fit the books in the show, there's still a better way to do it than they are doing it with this. I still think there are better ways. And it's like, it's just strange because there's bits and pieces and all sorts of storylines that are quite good, but then there's also just so much that isn't. The absolute definition of that is the council meeting in Marine. You have a really, really poor set of dialogue between all these characters, and then immediately they leave and Barristan gives one of his best speeches in the show. It's just very bizarre. And like I said last time, patchy like a cow's back. It's just so weird. Yeah, anything else you want to add on the...
No, nothing really. That's all I really have to say.
Yep. Well, the episode received positive reviews. Building upon the season opener, the House of Black and White increases the intensity by calling upon some major characters to make some tough decisions. The House of Black and White was noticeably a bigger, better episode than the premiere. I'm not sure about that. I feel like you could argue that this is actually worse, to be honest.
I'd say this is probably slightly worse.
Yeah. It not only brought Arya and Bronn back into the mix and introduced Dawn, it contains huge moments for Brienne, Dany, and Jon. I mean, I would agree that they're huge moments, but they're not all good. The Jon stuff is. The Brienne stuff on paper is when you don't think about the contrivances. And the huge stuff with Dany is huge, but it's hugely terrible.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, written by David Benioff and Dan Weiss, I think they are really losing it. They are losing control of this show.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Unfortunately, a little bit.
The direction was also by Michael Slover, same as the last episode. I loved the direction of the election scene. When they did
It was really good.
The pan up to the tiebreaker, and then Aemon dropping the circle on Jon's pile. I thought that was really well done.
Yes.
They did a lot of slow zoom shots in this episode, and I thought those were really well done. Unfortunately, though, like you said, the CGI face for Podrick was not well done.
No, that would look quite bad. It
Yeah.
was like extremely noticeable. And the fake castle.
Yes.
Fake castle looked really bad.
Yes, that was really bad. All the stuff they did with snake imagery was really good in this. When Cersei unveiled it, then
a lot of snake imagery in this episode.
With Prince Duran's finger ring with the snake being the first shot, and then also with Gilly reading the snake S in the book as well I was a big fan of. Good work. He does not direct any more episodes. He just did these two, but I would say his direction in this episode was better than the last one.
Yeah, I really liked this episode's direction quite a bit. Especially that scene at the wall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Real good stuff. Music by Raymond Javadi. He's always good. He's a class act. This wasn't an episode that was particularly known for its music. It's more of a dialogue-heavy episode.
Yeah, it's very dialogue-heavy.
But we do have a couple of themes to check out. The first one is called Sons of the Harpy. I think it's called Son of the Harpy, I should say.
Yes.
one of the things I really liked about that is he captured the essence of they hide in the walls. Had a very similar, the whispering and the thumping, especially at the start. It reminds me a lot of what they did with the basilisk in Harry Potter, with like the whole thing of the sound existing within the walls. It was a very similar idea. And then, of course, there was an action sort of set piece of music in there with Daenerys' theme as well. But it just, I definitely think it's fitting of the Sons of the Harpy and what they're going for with that sort of cult. Oh, she got taste. It's
yeah, really good stuff there.
It suits their sort of what they're going for very well. I think also the other thing I really like is that Raymond Javadi, whenever there's a new thing in the show that we haven't seen before, he tries to do something different with the music, and this is different to stuff we've had before. So it's it's a nice change of pace, I guess you could say. Shame about the writing, but the music is really good. Yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think that was a really good track. The vocals were really, really good. To emphasize the sort of hiding sort of aspect of them. I thought that was quite neat. Yeah, I really like that track. Very, very cool. Shame that the actual story within it isn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say that's going to be very much the case going forward, I guess.
Yes.
Going to be saying that a lot.
Yep. Right. Our second track is actually on the season 6 soundtrack. So we're jumping forward.
Oh my god.
We're jumping forward a little bit, but I believe some of this was played in this episode, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I've decided to fit it in here. It is Hear Me Roar, which is Cersei Lannister's theme. Exceptional character theme work there.
Another great rendition.
Yes, it's obviously the Lannister theme is in there, but it's got its own twist to it for Cersei.
Yes.
And take note of this theme because it becomes relevant much later. It's this you've only heard just the beginning of this theme. You haven't heard the full blown version yet. And I will say that the version of this song that is the full version that happens at a climactic point in one of the, sort of storylines later on, is probably my favorite piece of music that Raymond Javadi has ever done. But you'll have to wait until...
Ooh.
You'll have to wait until a later season for that. It's not in season 5. Obviously has something to do with Cersei, because this is her theme. Very, very good music. Great slow build up. It's got that subtle... You know, whenever you see Lena Headey in a scene and you can see what she's thinking. You can see what she's thinking with her expressions. This music at the start of the song, it exemplifies that. There's this almost silence there, but there's these little ticks of, you know, her letting you in a bit. And then you get the Lannister theme, the Reigns of Castamere, which then transitions into second half, which is a whole different rendition. You got a little taste of something with this, and then once we get to when this theme returns in its full glory, you'll be able to witness it. You'll be able to witness its climactic point. That is something to look forward to, because, as I've said, the show from here on has a lot of bad writing, and the last 2 episodes, actually the last 3 episodes, have shown that. You've seen a lot of bad writing in the last 3 episodes, but when it comes to Raymond Javadi's music, there is still a lot to look forward to. There are still a lot of great songs in the show that happen in the bad seasons.
That's just another really great rendition of the theme.
Yep.
Really cool. Loved it.
As character themes goes, the Lannister one is top of the tops.
Pretty good. Pretty darn good.
Yep, it's always a winner. So, this probably comes to no surprise. In the novel, Littlefinger and Sansa never leave the Vale, and they never meet with Brienne and Podrick. So this is all Dave and Dan's creation. And let's say they fucked it up really badly with the contrivances.
Yeah, they did.
So the other thing is that when Arya gets to the House of Black and White, she doesn't knock, she just opens it and it's unlocked in the books. Which makes sense, because it's a place that is openly invitational. The House of the Faceless Man, you'd think, would have volunteers, right? As long as you can be worthy of being in Bravos. You know, if you make your way past that Titan who is guarding the city, then, you know, you are a free man. Or a free woman in her case.
Yeah.
But yeah, the books made it very clear that the kindly man is not Jack and Hagar, whereas in the TV series they are the same person. Which is just stupid. It's so opposite to what the Faceless Men are all about. Now, another interesting change is in the books, Ilaria Sand did not wish to war with the Lannisters to avenge Oberyn's death. Quite the contrary, she is opposed to any further bloodshed. The person who is wanting to wage war is Duran's daughter Arianne Martell. But of course, as I explained, Arianne Martell is not in the show, so they gave that motivation to Ilaria Sand. But I don't like this, because it kind of goes against her character in Season 4, doesn't it? A little bit.
A little bit.
Because I feel like her character in Season 4 is quite different to what we got here. And you could argue maybe the trauma of seeing Oberyn die has changed her. But I would also expect the further bloodshed to be motivated by, I don't know, a teenage girl and not a fully grown adult. Because I would say Ilaria's characterization in this was quite immature for her age. It could be interpreted that way. Not the worst writing of all time, but it is something to take note of. Susie Costello from Torchwood has... I still can't believe they're the same person. They're just so different. It's crazy. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's also another character. There's also another character that's not on the show called Sir Gerald Darkstar Dane, who is the one who advises Arya Martell not to ran to kill Myrcella So there's a whole bunch of other characters that are surrounding this idea of killing Marcella, but it's been kind of compounded into Hilarious Sand for some reason. I guess because they wanted to keep the same actress and have her featured. But I feel like that's never enough a reason to... It's the same problem with bloody Jack and Hagar, isn't it? Because they just wanted to keep all the same actors, rather than do something a bit risky and trying to cast a new person. But the thing is, by this point, HBO is fucking loaded, right? So surely they could afford anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they can afford to... You'll see later, but if you remember, they can afford to have Ed Sheeran in the show. And, yeah, I don't know. Ugh. Also, where is Ares Oakheart? He was the Kingsguard member that went with Marcella to Dawn, and he's just not there. And the reason why he's not there is because in the books he has a romantic storyline with Ariane Martel. And Ariane Martel obviously doesn't exist in the show. So the Kingsguard guy who went with Marcella to Dawn doesn't exist anymore. He's just been deleted, I guess. He's just not there. And I know that's a small detail because Ares Oakheart didn't get any dialogue lines in the show, but if you watch the scene where she sails to Dawn, she has a member of the Kingsguard with her on the boat. So it's implied that he's going with her. Guess not. On Tyrion's journey to meet Daenerys, not to be necessarily her advisor, but basically as instructed by Illyrio, he is accompanied by a sellsword named Griff and his ward, young Griff. And I will talk more about those two characters when they become more relevant, because that is directly linked to the Mama's Dragon stuff that was teased in season 1 but not given in the show. Oh, we forgot to talk about the scene where Daenerys sees Drogon on the pyramid. I completely forgot about that.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, that was...
I don't really understand why that scene happened. It's just like the bloody scene from the last episode where she sees Viserion and Rhaegal. It's just like they want to have her with her dragons in a scene.
Oh, but we care so much about her dragons.
Yeah, also, I know it's nighttime, but surely someone would have sighted Drogon. He's a big, whacking, great dragon. He's pretty loud.
It's also
big.
screeching in the night.
Yes.
Someone was going to wake up.
Yeah. So surely they're going to fear for their...
Yeah, like, it's loud screeching, so...
And let's not forget, this is the dragon that burned the child and had her bones to her feet, and yet she's, you know, it's just flying around, doing its thing. Also, interestingly, because in the books, Barristan sugarcoats the story about her father to try and make things easier for her to accept. In this episode, he tells her the full truth about the Mad King, and she's still kind of defends him, I guess. I guess this is the episode where she's about to behead a slave, so maybe that's why they did that. Oh dear. There's also more reasons why Jon wants to say no to Stannis in the books, like how Melisandre demanded that they burn down the godswood of Winterfell and converts to the Lord of Light. And he also refuses Stannis' offer for the sake of Sansa's claim to Winterfell as well. That's another reason. Assuming that she's still alive. Which they have every reason to believe she is, because she escaped the wedding where Joffrey died and was never captured. This is quite sad. So Dennis Mallister, remember the one that was part of the election, played by actor J.J. Murphy, unfortunately died 4 days after filming his first scenes.
Oh, that sucks. So this would have been part of, like, yeah, those first 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
And David Benioff and Dan Weiss basically said that his character would not be recast, which is good, because of fucking posthumous recastings and CGI replacements can be really dodgy. And they said a very nice thing about he was a lovely man, he was the best Dennis Mallister we could have hoped for, and now his watch has ended.
That's nice.
it's unknown if he finished. This is a bit like, oh, it's going to be tough seeing Bernard Cribbins in Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's unknown if he finished every scene they intended to film with him, but apparently all of, at least most of his primary scenes were already finished. And it's possible that a few scenes were rewritten to work around his absence. I think they kind of, from memory, I believe what they do is they have characters reference him, and he's supposedly like sort of off screen in a different room or something. It's kind of the way they get around it. This is the only episode where he really appears on camera. So yes, we also, I forgot to mention this, is that Stannis got a letter from Bear Island where he was asked for the allegiance of House Mormont, obviously given that George Mormont was Lord Commander.
Yeah.
Lyanna Mormont says, Bear Island knows no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark, so she is not allegiance to Stannis. Now, the actress who plays Lyanna Mormont, do you know who that is?
No.
I can't remember her name, but it's the actress from The Last of Us. She's one of the main characters in The Last of Us.
Oh, she plays Ellie.
Yeah.
Oh, she plays Ellie. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
So she plays Lyanna Mormont in this show. So this is kind of her quote-unquote introduction, even though we didn't see her. I guess by her being Lady of Bear Island, it's implied that Mage Mormont died off screen. Because if you remember in Season 1, at the end of Season 1...
Bella Ramsey, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey.
At the end of Season 1, Mage Mormont's one of the people that declares Robb Stark King of the North. So I guess this scene implies that Mage Mormont has died. And also all of Lyanna's older siblings died at the Red Wedding. I believe it's implied in the books that the Mage Mormont dies at the Red Wedding as well, but it's just not really talked about in the show. She's such a minor character. At least in terms of relevance to the story, not necessarily in terms of relevance in-universe. Because in-universe, obviously being Lord of a house is very important. Even if it's a northern house and a small one at that. But, you know, being the Lord of a house that was once connected to the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is pretty massive. Right. Viewership. So the opening episode, The Wars to Come, got a record 8 million. This episode got 6.8 million.
Wow.
Massive dip. Possibly a holiday weekend.
Maybe.
That has happened before. I remember the Blackwater episode got lower viewership than you'd expect because it was a holiday. So that might be why. I think the real telling test will be, what does the next episode get? Because it's on a streaming service, a lot of people will just catch up with what they missed instead of watching it live. So we'll see what episode 3 gets, and that'll be the real test.
Yes.
It might not be a dip because people hated the first episode. It probably wasn't because of that at first glance, but we'll see what the rating is for episode 3, and then we can compare them and see if it was a sort of just a temporary dip or a permanent one.
We shall see then.
So, conclusion and rating out of 10 for the House of
this
Black and
episode
White.
was pretty poor. Some really good parts here and there, but overall this was very poor. Some really bad dialogue, really weird character decisions, and one person fucking on spinning wheels for the whole episode pretty much. And only part that I really liked was Stuff at the Wall and that one scene in King's Landing. This is pretty bad. I'm probably going to give it like a 3 out of 10, I think. Yeah, 3 out of 10 seems right to me.
Contending with the
that was
finale
also
of
pretty
last
bad.
season. It's... Oh dear. This is not a good start.
No.
So yeah, they fucked up the Faceless Men. They caused an insane contrivance with Brienne, Podrick, Baelish, and Sansa. They have made Jaime seem like an idiot for hiring a fucking sellsword to do his dirty work, which is ridiculous. They have cut out all of the best Dornish characters from that were in the books, and we got a much more downsized version. But we'll wait and see what Dave and Dan do with it. The Sons of the Harpy thing is weird because Dario Naharis was an asshole for no reason to Grey Worm. The council meeting scene was stupid. We got a great scene with Barristan, and then we got Daenerys beheading a slave after he killed her Sons of the Harpy. No trial. Her morals seem very inconsistent, and this is not good. Tyrion and Varys are an old married couple bickering about a fucking box. He simplifies his motivations down to I wanted power rather than all of the reasons why he did it. Varys seems much dumber for not knowing this. Very, very, very disappointing. And they downsized the election, but it's still really good. Everything with pretty much all the stuff at the Night's Watch was fantastic. Gilly, Shireen, Samwell, Selyse, especially Samwell's speech, Jon and Stannis, and then the actual election itself, Elissa Thorne, Maester Aemon, Janos Slynt. I was a big fan of everything they did at the Wall. And of course, the small council meeting with Cersei and Kevin was also really good too. There was some good visual symbolism, good direction. But despite the fact that there was like two good things about this episode, that being the stuff with Cersei and with Jon, which honestly, when you're thinking about what I know about season 5 and what I remember about it, you're going to notice a common theme that Cersei and Jon are really the only things worth talking about this season, for the most part. One of the only good things about it. Yeah, this was fucking crap. This is so bad. Like, I would say like 75 to 80% of this episode was really trash. And could have been so much better. And like you, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. This contends with The Children for the worst episode so far. Appalling start to season 5. Yeah. Really bad. As Eirich and Sex Education would say, very bad. Very, very bad. Next time we have episode 3 of season 5, which is called High Sparrow.
Wow.
Your thoughts and anticipations for High Sparrow?
No, I don't really much hope now. It's gonna have to do a lot to earn my trust back at this rate. Not great start.
Well, I'll give you some optimism. Jon's stuff is still really good. Some of Cersei's stuff is really good. And we still haven't gotten Theon yet.
That is true. That is also very true.
So, there is some potential optimism there.
There is. So let's hope that it can try and pick itself back up.
Let's see if they can do some good stuff in the next episode. I will give you a little clue. The High Sparrow is a character. And he's going to be introduced in the next episode. And he's played by a very famous actor. A very good actor at that. And, in my opinion, the High Sparrow is one of the best characters from the bad seasons. So, there is something to look forward to there. Something to look forward to. With the Cersei stuff, with the new character, with Theon, with Jon. There is stuff to look forward to. Hopefully. Apart from that...
Hopefully.
Apart from that, proceed with caution. Because this season is really bad.
Well, it's not a great start. Considering how only compared to all of the first 4 seasons, we had one episode below what? A 7? And that was the last episode of season 4, and now we've hit back to back. Well, 3 episodes in a row have sunken below 4 out of 10s.
Yeah, we gave Breaker of Chains a 7, didn't we?
Yeah, which was like what, episode 3 of season 1 or something?
Episode 3 of season 4.
Oh, okay.
That's the Jaime rape
scene. Oh yeah, because it was as a follow up to. Oh yes, that is true. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
it has the Jaime rape scene, but it also has a lot of great stuff as well.
Yes,
and that's the thing though, is like with season 4, it was like there were symptoms, but the episodes were still good overall, apart from the finale. But now you get to this, and it's just bad. It's just bad episodes with a few good stuff. It's interesting because it's like with season 4, it was mostly good and then some bad. It's almost like it's reversed now, where you're getting some good and mostly bad. And as someone who has read A Feast for Crows and A Dance of Dragons, I am disgusted that this is called an adaptation is filthy. It's not an adaptation. It's a piss poor effort is what I think it is. Those two guys, it's not just one writer, this is two writers. These two guys couldn't think of anything fucking better than this. We want Brienne and Sansa to interact with each other, so we're just going to have them conveniently bump into each other in the same inn. I'm not a politician, I'm a queen. Yes.
Oh, God. Oh, the cringe is starting to start. It really is. The cringe is starting to build. Bad dialogue is becoming a lot more prevalent.
Well, I give you adieu, a goodbye, mwah, and a good night. Bang.